The British East India Company arrived on Indian shores in the 17th century. They came seeking trade, spices, and riches. They found a land of immense wealth and ancient civilizations. The Mughal Empire, once mighty, was weakening. The company saw an opportunity. They exploited divisions, forged alliances, and gradually amassed power. By the 18th century, they were no longer mere traders. They had become the rulers of a vast dominion. The company's army, made up of Indian sepoys, enforced their will. They collected taxes, controlled trade, and dictated laws. The East India Company, driven by greed, became the paramount power in India. The once proud Mughal emperors were reduced to puppets. The company's rule was one of exploitation and oppression. It sowed the seeds of resentment that would one day erupt in rebellion. The East India Company's rule had a devastating impact on the Indian economy. India, once known for its thriving textile industry, was systematically deindustrialized. British mills churned out cheap cloth, flooding the Indian market and driving local weavers out of business. Millions were forced into poverty, their livelihoods destroyed. The company's policies transformed India into a supplier of raw materials and a captive market for British goods. Agriculture, the backbone of the Indian economy, also suffered under the company's rule. Farmers were forced to grow cash crops like indigo and opium, leaving less land for food production. This, coupled with the company's exploitative taxation system, led to widespread famine and suffering. The Bengal famine of 1770, a horrific testament to the company's greed, claimed millions of lives. The famine was a man-made disaster, a direct result of the company's policies. The company's insatiable appetite for profit knew no bounds. They bled India dry, extracting wealth and resources without any regard for the welfare of its people. The economic exploitation of India under the East India Company was ruthless and systematic. It left a legacy of poverty and underdevelopment that would take generations to overcome. The year 1857 marked a turning point in the history of British rule in India. The simmering resentment against the East India Company's oppressive rule finally boiled over into open rebellion. The spark that ignited the flames was the introduction of the Enfield rifle. The cartridges were rumored to be greased with animal fat, an affront to both Hindu and Muslim sepoys. The sepoys, who formed the backbone of the company's army, rose up in revolt. From Meerut to Delhi, the rebellion spread like wildfire. Sepoys, joined by peasants, artisans, and dispossessed rulers, fought back against the British with astonishing courage and ferocity. The rebellion shook the foundations of British rule. It exposed the vulnerability of the Raj and the depth of Indian resentment. The British, caught off guard, responded with brutal force. The 1857 rebellion, though ultimately crushed, was a watershed moment in the struggle against British colonialism. It demonstrated the power of unity and the indomitable spirit of the Indian people. The sacrifices made by the rebels would inspire generations of Indians to fight for their freedom. Among the many heroes of the 1857 rebellion, Rani Lakshmi Bai, the queen of the princely state of Jhansi, stands out as a symbol of courage, determination, and resistance. When the British threatened to annex her kingdom, she refused to yield. She rallied her troops, donned a soldier's uniform, and led the fight against the British with unmatched valor. Rani Lakshmi Bai was a skilled horsewoman and swordsman, a force to be reckoned with on the battlefield. She fought alongside her troops, inspiring them with her courage and determination. Her name became synonymous with resistance, her legend passed down through generations. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, she refused to back down. In the final battle at Gwalior, Rani Lakshmibai fought with the fury of a tigress. She died a warrior's death, leading a cavalry charge against the British. Her courage and sacrifice made her an icon of the Indian independence movement. Rani Lakshmibai's story is a testament to the indomitable spirit of the Indian people and their unwavering resistance against oppression. Section 5. Divide and Conquer. The British Strategy for Control. The 1857 rebellion was a wake-up call for the British. They realized that to maintain their grip on India, they needed a new strategy. Thus began their policy of divide and rule. The British exploited existing religious and caste divisions within Indian society. They pitted Hindus against Muslims, upper castes against lower castes, sowing seeds of discord that would have lasting consequences. The British favored certain communities over others, granting them privileges and positions of power. This created resentment and distrust among different groups, making it harder for them to unite against their common oppressor. The British also deliberately stoked communal tensions, using their administrative power to favor one community over another. This policy of divide and conquer was cynical but effective. The British administration, through its policies and pronouncements, deepened the fault lines within Indian society. They highlighted religious differences, often portraying Hindus and Muslims as inherently antagonistic. This strategy of division helped the British to maintain their control over India for another 90 years. It left a legacy of mistrust and division that continues to plague India to this day. Section 6. Scars of Division. The enduring legacy of divide and rule. The British may have left India in 1947, but the scars of their divide and rule policy continue to haunt the subcontinent. The partition of India and Pakistan, a bloody and traumatic event that displaced millions, was a direct consequence of the British strategy of exploiting religious differences. The poison of communalism, injected into the body politic of India by the British, continues to erupt in periodic bouts of violence and unrest. The legacy of divide and rule can be seen in the rise of religious fundamentalism, caste-based politics, and regionalism. The British may have left, but their strategy of exploiting existing divisions within Indian society continues to cast a long shadow. It is a stark reminder of the enduring legacy of colonialism and the challenges that India continues to face in overcoming its divisive past. The arbitrary drawing of borders during partition, coupled with the communal violence that accompanied it, created deep wounds that are yet to heal. The divide and rule policy may have served the British well, but it left India deeply fractured. It is a sobering reminder of the human cost of colonialism and the importance of unity and understanding in a diverse society. Section 7. Jallianwala Bagh, a massacre that ignited a nation. In 1919, the Jallianwala Bagh massacre shocked India. On April 13th, British troops, led by Brigadier General Dyer, opened fire on a peaceful gathering. For 10 minutes, the firing continued. Over 1,000 were killed. The massacre galvanized the Indian independence movement. It was a turning point. The memory serves as a reminder of the cost of oppression. Section 8. The March to Freedom. Gandhi, Nehru, and the Struggle for Independence. The Jallianwala Bagh massacre proved to be a turning point in the Indian independence movement. It ushered in a new era of resistance, led by Mahatma Gandhi, Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolent resistance, satyagraha, captured the imagination of millions of Indians. From the Salt Satyagraha to the Quit India movement, Gandhi led a series of mass movements that shook the foundations of British rule. Jawaharlal Nehru, a towering figure in the Indian National Congress, emerged as a powerful advocate for complete independence. Nehru, along with other nationalist leaders like Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Subhas Chandra Bose, and Maulana Azad, mobilized the masses and kept the pressure on the British government. The Indian independence movement was a broad-based struggle, encompassing people from all walks of life. Students, peasants, workers, intellectuals, and women all played a vital role in the fight for freedom. The British, weakened by World War II and facing mounting pressure both domestically and internationally, finally agreed to grant India independence in 1947. The long and arduous struggle for freedom had finally borne fruit.